Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sierra Club Huron Valley Group's hybrid monthly program for May 2022, the Cherry Blossom Edition. We are the Sierra Club. The Sierra Club is the nation's oldest and largest environmental group. Our motto is explore, enjoy, and protect the planet. If you aren't already a member, please join at sierraclub.org. The Huron Valley Group is the Sierra Club group that represents Washtenaw, Monroe, and Lenawee counties. My name is Dan Ezekiel, and I'm the program chair of the Huron Valley Group. Let's start by taking a moment to think healing thoughts to our sisters and brothers in the Ukraine and our sisters and brothers in Buffalo, New York. Thank you. First off, I want to apologize for the technical problems that bedeviled our April program with Dr. Jacqueline Courteau. And I know some people even dropped off the Zoom because they thought we were never going to be able to pull it together here, which we finally did. That program is recorded. And if anybody missed it and wants to see it, just drop me an email and I'll make sure that you can do that. So about the format, January was our first partially in-person Huron Valley Group program in 22 months. We ask that you be vaxxed, boosted, and masked to attend here in person. We plan to use this hybrid model in the months to come, and you can sign up to attend in person or virtual on our meetup page, which you probably already did. Okay, we like to share wins since you took time out of your evening to come see us. We hope you enjoyed the new and improved newsletter, which is electronic only. John Metzler, who's here, has stepped up as our new communications chair. We envision the newsletter as the future of the two-way communication between our group and its members. And you're encouraged to send in a letter, a brief editorial, or a brief article, as well as your photos. And we've already had some members send in those things. Look for the next edition this summer. It's going to focus on activism. Do you want to say anything else, John? The midterm election in November is a huge priority for us. One of the most effective ways we can help elect and re-elect environmentalists to public office is to write letters to so-called low inclination voters, encouraging them to vote. Surveys consistently show that a majority of voters support our environmental issues, but often people who don't support those issues get elected, and it's because our voters don't always vote. In 2020, the Huron Valley Group wrote over 1,500 letters to such voters, and we're ramping it up again. We've had our first 2 letter writing sessions already, and we've already written hundreds of letters to low inclination Michigan voters for this fall. Our next letter writing session in person is at the Argus Farm Stop on Packard, that's 1200 Packard, a week from this evening on Tuesday, May 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. And once again, I have to thank John Metzler for stepping up to lead that meeting because I'm not in town at that time. So again, next Tuesday, May 24th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Packard Argus Farm Stop, which is 1200 Packard, and the letter writing is down in the basement. If you can, please bring 20 envelopes and 20 stamps. But if you can't do that, don't let that stop you from coming. What really matters is your heartfelt letters to the low inclination voters. All right. So let me talk about next month's program for a minute. So first off, our speaker for tonight came especially to see us from up north, and the same is going to be true next month. Next month, we're having a speaker come from up north. Her name is Laura Tremore Spears. She's formerly from this area, but I think she lives in Petoskey now. She says, my talk is called Microplastic and Nanoplastic Pollution from Sources to Solutions. Micro and nanoplastics are a growing concern both for the environment and human health. Research on these microscopic and even molecular sized pollutants is developing rapidly. What's the latest on microplastic pollution? I will report on its sources and causes, effects, what's being done about it, and what we can all do to be part of the solution. So I personally am really looking forward to learning more about this issue. I've heard of it, but now we're going to have an expert to take us a lot deeper. So now we come to this month's program, and I'm so excited. Oh, my bad. Jason, I would like you to talk. So our chair is here, Jason Frenzel, and he's going to share a moment with you.
Thanks, Dan. Again, my name is Jason Frenzel. I'm the chair of the local Sierra Club group. Thank you all for being here in person and quite a handful of folks that are online. I'm also personing the AV over in the corner. So thanks, Dan, for voluntolding me for that job today. I appreciate the opportunity. I wanted to bring to folks' attention, as you may have read in the local news, Ann Arbor has put a ballot initiative on the November edition of the ballot for a millage that will fund the HU0 plan for the next 20 years if passed. It'll be a 1 mil millage. We're currently seeking endorsements, and the Sierra Club is on the verge of endorsing currently. We have a political process, as you might imagine, but we've got lots of great local leaders that have endorsed. And if you're interested in being involved in that initiative, we'll be taking lots of volunteers to help out over the coming months, especially leading up to November. So what is it? It's a ballot proposal to support the HU0 plan, which is climate change reduction. It's Ann Arbor's fight against climate change. That's only Ann Arbor residents. Yep. And as always, thanks, Dan, for putting together such an amazing program and bringing in such amazing presenters. Looking forward to this evening. Thanks, Dan.
So I personally am so excited about our presentation tonight and so glad it's actually coming to pass. Bob Sutherland is the owner and founder of the Cherry Republic stores up north, as well as here in Ann Arbor. His cherry pie is just to die for. And then you're going to learn what this has to do with our causes. And Bob is one of us. He explores and he enjoys and he protects the planet, as you are going to learn. And we don't have enough entrepreneurs come and talk to us. We have had farmers a lot in the last couple of years, which has been so interesting and informative for us. We've had a few entrepreneurs, including Bill Brinkerhoff and Kathy Sample, who own Argus Farm Stop. But tonight, you're going to see the real deal, how somebody built up a environmentally conscious business that's also a wonderful place to visit and provides this amazing food. So please help me welcome from, what would you say, Glen Arbor, Cleveland Township, Michigan, Bob Sutherland. Let's see how the height is on the camera.
Good. Need to tip it up at all? No?
So far, so good.
Okay. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you for the original ask to come down here. I'm always looking for an excuse to come to Ann Arbor to check out our store. And it was fun to work with you setting this up. We did a little fundraiser today, and I forgot when I was in there to check and see how we're doing on sales, but 25% of the sales today in our Glen Arbor store are going to your club. Okay. And and it's fun to start out mentioning that, because if I think of anything that Cherry Republic is, it's a quiet little fundraiser that's been going on for 32 years. Sure, we sell cherries, but in that interaction of selling cherries, we have started this program where we take a cut of every transaction and give it back to Michigan, give it back to our communities, give it back to, right now where our big focus is on climate. And I had a hike with Yvon Chouinard. I spent a weekend with him. He came up and spoke. I was the chairman of the Michigan Land Use Institute, which is now Groundworks, and got to show him around the Midwest. It's his first time even in the Midwest. This is the owner of Patagonia that goes from the East Coast to the West Coast down to, Patagonia. And he had never come to the Midwest, And he was like, I got him up on top of the sand dunes and he went, oh my God, this is beautiful. Like total, like what have I missed, And I got to introduce him later that night. And I, in my introduction, I said, Yvon Chouinard has taught Tom Krakauer, how to mountain climb, and John Krakauer how to ice climb, and Tom Brokaw how to rock climb. But I taught Yvon how to dune climb. But in that 3 days, he had just started taking 1% of all of his sales and donating it to the environment. He spent the whole weekend talking to me. And when I was introducing him to a big crowd, I threw out this idea that he's trying to talk me into doing the same thing. And I had some other programs of how I raised money and gave it away, but they were complicated. It was tougher. And so I threw that out to everybody in the audience, and they just started chanting, do it, do it, do it. And so over that 1%, program, we've probably given, $2.5 million to the Michigan environment and to our communities. And this is somewhat a dream come true for me, who wanted to start a company that did good. And it's a big ethic in my family, and business is a big ethic too. I did think I wanted to be governor of Michigan or president. I thought I had a political career, and I was on this path where I was doing both business and politics. I was county commissioner, and I was, on track to make the jumps. And that was a super hard time in our county politics, and my business was taking off. And thank God that over some issues and a clerk that really didn't like me, she got me pushed off the ballot for an election. And I ended up trying to run anyway as a write-in candidate. And thank God I lost. And I became 10 years younger in that moment. And I got to focus on Cherry Republic, and I have done so much better. And in this time, I have gotten so connected politically, to be able to call our governor, our senators, to endorse people, just as you guys are, which makes such a difference, to go out and get voters for environmental people. For environmental candidates. I'm also on the board of the Michigan League Conservation Voters, which that's about our total goal, is to get environmental candidates elected. This next election is really important. But so Yvon, got me started on, help me organize how we do our giving, and 1% across the top. A little later, I was realizing, doggone it, I want to give more away. So I started a new program, and this relates a lot to the Sierra Club, because I know how into small farms and farming you are. So if you come in our stores, you'll see some signs around that say, heads up, the Cherry Republic legislature has enacted a 1% tariff on all purchases. It's refundable, but understand that we're going to take 1% and give it back to the farmers. Because without these farmers, we'd be all out in the woods right now looking for grubs and worms to eat. All right. And in a tongue-in-cheek way, we have, gotten our customers to join us in paying a 1% tariff It's refundable. People don't want to do that. They get a little receipt that says so. And once in a while, somebody will come back. But I didn't know it at first, if people would be okay with this tariff that I was putting on them, but it's been an overwhelming success. And we've been able to raise $1.5 million for farmers and for that. It went to farmland preservation, and it went to, also to Ann Arbor to help fund your green belt, at different times. And every, once, I think 2 years ago was the last time, we made a $5,000 or $6,000 or $7,000 donation to that. But we've become focused more and more on giving grants to small farmers. And I'm just amazed at how it works, like we give a grant to, I was just showing John, we gave a grant for $7,000 10 years ago to Providence Farm. And all of a sudden, Providence Farm, their root vegetables were starting to show up, year round around our stores. And I knew right then that our money had helped them. It was out of the blue money. I just trusted them. I gave them a grant that gave them a heated space where they could wash and clean root vegetables. Because in the winter, it's a pain in the ass to wash root vegetables, for a farm market, for that small amount. And, but not only were those root vegetables, up north, but they were in that Ann Arbor, what was the name of that?
Argus Farm Stuff.
Art Farm?
Argus Farm Stuff.
Okay. Yeah, and there was one other place up north that we have supported. All those kids have worked for me at one time, those farmers, in the winter when it's slower, they'll answer the phones. So, so we do that additional thing, which I think is unique, that we're doing 1% on our side, 1% on our customer's side, and being able to give and connect to that many more farms and groups. We do one grants to farmers to give them a $5,000 for putting up solar on their farms. It's a no-brainer. Let me tell you, those CSAs will take our $5,000. They get they can apply, since they're a business, for God, what's that? There's a grant with the government that you can apply that'll pay 19% of it on top of your tax write-off. And then they go and they reach out to all their CSA members for donations. And Providence Farm, who I was just talking about, that has root vegetables, they just did that. They got $7,000 from me. They got $15,000 from their CSA, plus they get the LEAP grant and they get the tax write-off. So it's a no-brainer, let me tell you. And it's really fun for us to leverage the money with our customers to see that kind of thing happening. There's nothing we like more than to leverage our good, and match it with other money and other good things going. I feel like farmers are opinion leaders, farmers are trendsetters, and we don't look at them that way. But if we can get a lot of solar on farms, it'll just naturally get to, more and more of the population. So we've probably done 12 farms. We continue to support, building fences. And of course, we support all the organizations that are, working on farmland preservation. I was down here 4 years ago, giving a talk to the Legacy Land Conservancy, just their farmland projects too, but also just preserve some great land that, John, you must be hiking on every once in a while. And yeah, it's nice to see that work. So as a company, we are trying to give every example of how you can fundraise. And it's easy. I mean, it's hard for an organization to fundraise. You guys are talking about, some of the events that you're trying to do to raise money. But for a business who has transactions going on all the time, it is so easy to take a little cut. It's so easy to stick it at the start, in front of your budget at the beginning of the year. Say, hey, this is how much we want to give away. How are we going to raise the money to do it? And so we do, you know, the other example is when you come up, we do a roundup. Hey, would you like to round up, you know, your change to the even dollar? And that'll go to farmland and, I mean, that'll go to solar and schools. And we ask for $5, you know, for various things, you know, on our website. And we're trying to give every example, hoping that other businesses will pick it up. That's my next decade, is to try to get other businesses to join, because I can't believe that other businesses do not do it. Every dollar I give away comes back to me tenfold. I'll give you one example of that. I donated $1,000 to an artist group that was putting together a book, Artists of the Sleeping Bear Dudes. And that helped them publish this book. Wasn't that much money. I didn't even think that much about it. And but I went to their showing at the when they presented all the different things at the Denos Museum in Traverse City, you know, that winter and fall. And I'm with my wife, and we're walking through all of the different art. And I say to Steph, "Hey, what is your favorite picture painting?" And she goes and points out hers. And then I point out mine. And it's this, 8-foot by 4-foot painting of someone hiking on ice. No, just of ice on Lake Michigan with the sun, you know, gleaming on the cracked ice. I didn't think anything about it. I just said, that's my favorite painting. 3 months later, I happened to go on a hike on Lake Michigan that Dan was talking about at dinner tonight. And all the way from the mainland, 8 miles out to the Manitou on this one winter that it was super cold and it froze over. I hiked across, I walked back. And you know, through the rush of, you know, the last couple of days, it was the greatest experience to go out there on an absolute beautiful day with some friends. We had some adventures. One of us fell in, and it was all day. We came in the dark, you know, with the stars overhead. It was a beautiful day. And I've had 10,000 men that have said, "Bob, I wish you would have asked me to come too. And I wish I would have asked everybody." And, but when I got back a day or two later, I had a message on my answering machine from Ken Wojcicka. And Ken goes, "Bob, I have this painting and I keep looking at it. And I just keep thinking this is for you. For all you've done for our community, this painting is for you." And I went and I played the message, and I called him up later and said, "Hey, thanks, Ken. That's really nice of you." And he goes, "Yeah," he goes, come get it. And, you know, whatever you want to do with it, you just have done, you know, was thinking of you. And I get the book out, and I see the one he goes, and I show Steph, and I'm like, wow. And Steph goes, "Oh my God, Bob, don't you see it? That's your picture. That's the one you pointed out." And this is this giant, beautiful picture that was in the Grand Rapids Art Prize, you know, didn't win an award, but was right up there in the top. And, you know, and it sits in my bedroom now, you know, and that's what my life is stories like that over and over. I don't want to get sidetracked on that, but I could go on and on. You know, I'm writing something for the Leelanau Conservancy, who's probably the group that I've donated to the longest, because from my first food product, I put on the bottom, when I'm dead broke, part of all profits, before I've even made 1 cent, I put this on, part of all profits go to the Leelanau Conservancy. And those first couple of years, I didn't make anything. So I was going in the hole to donate to them, you know, just so they'd let me keep it on the label. But over these 30 years, all of a sudden, the amount that I have gotten back from that conservancy, I can't believe. You know, I just, 2 examples are about every 4 nights a week, my boys and I will ride on Conservancy property, Palmer Woods, the most beautiful mountain bike roller coaster trails that are gonna probably be in the state, 5 miles from my home, and somehow my boys have become some of the best mountain bikers. They can jump 30 feet in the air, playing around with their bikes, spinning their handlebars, land, and have such joy. And we were just talking about the challenges of youth today, and the amount of time that are on their phones, and what that's doing, and the amount of stress that they're feeling, and the lack of a mental break that they're giving themselves. And that I have this place right there that is the best sedative antidote in the world to these phones, is this mountain biking that we do 4 nights a week before bed, that just quiets them down and they get in this glow, and and did I ever think of any of that stuff, 32 years ago when I put them on the label? And then I go around the lake to another thing that Conservancy did, where I donate a whole bunch to their farmland preservation programs. And this farm, I'm now getting raw milk from, and eggs every week, to this Conservancy farm. That's, making my boys healthy. So, it's fun to hear you talk about, and you have heard that you have so many small farm speakers, coming in. I think in northern Michigan, we're really proud of, the lead, we've kind of taken in that, along with Ann Arbor. We are like the key areas that have such a network of small farms that are successfully, making things happen. But it takes that little bit of extra community help too. So, the work you're doing in support, that we do in our communities, that we're building an industry and helping people dream. So Cherry Republic, I was asked to be a presenter on a board that, all talked a little bit about climate, to end of winter thing, or end of skiing, something like that, just warning about, the challenges our winters have, and at that, event, I was so kind of moved, and that I made a pledge that I would pledge $1 million, toward, climate action. And I'm still in the middle of that work, but climate for my industry today, for Cherries, climate is taking what was always a pretty precarious business, the whole idea of growing cherries, which maybe the most fragile doggone fruit, that you can grow. Once it's harvested, you have 3 days, to get that into a freezer or put it in a jar, or it's, it's done. So it's fragile from the moment it's, on the tree. Any little wind, the bugs love them. They need a certain soil. They need a super stable spring. And all of that stuff right now, with the way our climate is wrecking havoc, on our orchards. 10 years ago, we had a complete wipeout, and we've had a couple of rough years. This year, cross our fingers, could be a really good year. And unfortunately, because the cycle of cherries has been so up and down, because of the climate issues, our humid summers have caused, the amount of pests that love humidity, are way up, which makes it super tough to keep the pests off the trees. And And then these falls these springs that have been so kind of deceptively warm that the trees start to blossom too early, and then we have a frost and that crushes, so our crops have been really light, on top of some dryness, too, where they just didn't fill out like last year. They were really small, instead of like big, rich with a lot of moisture in them. So, climate isn't only just about warm. It's we're worried about the warmth, but it's just the lack of stability that is really hard, for our cherry farmers. And I think it was last Thursday, one of the biggest farmers in the county, who I know pretty well, he just called, and I just had an hour talk with him, and he was just talking about a processor that is kind of giving up on Northern Michigan cherries and is going to processing blueberries, So there's 20 million pounds that he's not going to produce and package. So there's farmers that are going to grow 20 million pounds of cherries. They're going to have nowhere to go with those cherries, And let me give you a perspective, what 20 million pounds is. Cherry Republic and all the work with 6 stores and a big mail order company, 25 million in sales. We only sell 2 million pounds of cherry in our products. Okay. You can imagine what 20 million is, in an industry that does 250 maybe total. So that's whole farms that, may have nowhere to go. So it's always been kind of an iffy thing, but now it's the big guys that are even struggling, with the cherries. All right. And a lot of it, it's hard enough competing against Turkey and other regions for, growing and marketing cherries, because Turkey is really crushing our markets, as well. And Turkey has a cherry pretty similar. But you also have that other thing hanging over you of a climate, that's every year successfully making it more difficult to grow. That's my sobering part of this. I know you guys are into climate, but action. We continue to do the best we can, make this known, and it's great to see that millage in Ann Arbor. Love to see that pass, and we'll try to help where I can. Cherry Republic, for my senses, in our next effort to do more is knowing that we have a bigger reach now, and knowing that I can get on the phone with about anybody. I'm going more staff capacity. So not only are we raising, still working on raising every dollar we can, as much as, and last year, I think we're almost up to giving away $500,000 a year, to different groups. I'm going to hire a vice president of climate and community impact. And I have 2 candidates all set. And a lot of my work now is that kind of government relations and philanthropy and advocacy, because we have too many businesses that aren't raising enough money, but they also aren't speaking out enough. Okay. And they're both equally important. And sometimes I read this article by some VP in Snowmass. If you guys know that, Snowbird and Snowmass, that group of ski hills out west. And he was saying, he goes, the fossil fuel industry has a lot of the major companies all, fooled into believing that, that they're the problem, and they're all trying to get to net zero themselves, which is important, but they're not pointing back at the fossil fuel and spending any time pointing at the fossil fuel industry as the problem themselves. And Cherry Republic, believe me, is I'm a co-chair of the Great Lakes Business Network, which is the business group that is fighting Line 5 as hard as we can. We have a climate committee as well on that that's working for renewables. But we've got to do two things. You know, we got to get to net zero ourselves. We got to raise money for all these good groups that are doing work, maybe three things. And we've got to go out and advocate, fight for, you know, our government and everybody to do their part in getting to net zero. Let's see here. You know, so I think it kind of happened. How did I get such a passion for environment and, you know, and these issues, you know, as a businessman? And when I was 7 years old, you know, we lived down in Detroit area, and my parents were educators, and and we had a summer home. So my dad came up to Northern Michigan. He was would run he would run programs for delinquent boys, Methodist Children's Village, and even homes eventually for delinquent boys. He had a bunch of masters and stuff. And he would take his best kids as a treat up to the Sleeping Bear Dunes. And that's how he discovered the dunes. And pretty soon we were camping up here. And pretty soon we had a cottage. And it wasn't that long when we had moved up, you know. My mom put her foot down and said, we're just moving up there. And I always thought that, you know, and they told me that it had a lot to do with just, I wanted to raise you guys up in the woods and in the good environment. But we were in Detroit at the time, and I started putting it all together. And it was right after the race riots, and during that time is when we moved up. And most people moved to the suburbs during that time, but my family kind of moved up there. So I'm kind of bittersweet about that move, because I feel like, you know, the Sutherland is my family, and my uncles we all moved north, and I have an obligation. And my next store, I do want a store in Detroit, and I want to give back because I feel like I'm a part of that flight, and I want to fix that. So I do some stuff in Detroit now, join, you know, what's that group? And we send to a couple different groups, but my hope is one time to have a store in Detroit. Dan, I don't know what, all of a sudden I need a drink of water bad, and I don't, there's any way.
Dan, in the kitchenette.
But being up north, and we were right at the time we were moving up was when the national park came in, and we actually even lost our cottage to the national park taking over. But we moved right into the little town right in the center of the national park, Glen Arbor. And not only did I learn my entrepreneurism from this little town with all these tourists coming through, that I would sell Petoskey's to and t-shirts and all kinds of stuff, but I would spend every minute out in those woods. And God, and somehow in my 20s, you know, I was struggling with trying to get through school, and it took 10 years. My dad had died and was kind of lost. But what found me, how I rooted and found myself every time, was my wilderness adventures. So thank you. Thank you. You saved me because I was all, thanks so much. Was those that time in the wilderness as a child, and through my 20s, when God, I was just, there was a lot of lost times, but I knew I could always find myself in those woods. always in my goal, my talks is to show a few tears and also to give everybody a laugh or two. And I feel like I've done, you know, my work. So I think I got the tear. And now we'll try to find some upbeat things to talk about as well. But yeah, Chair Republic, you know, I don't know, we're probably right about 30 minutes, you know, Dan, and I can just talk a little bit about our values. And we've had the fortune to have about 700 people last year work for us, you know, through these times. And we're a very diverse company. You know, we just don't have one way we sell. You know, we sell wholesale to different stores. We have our 6 stores ourselves. We mail order, we sell through the internet, we go on the road and sell. So we're a very pretty complicated company on top of all the fundraising we do on the side. So it's taken us to be really organized behind the scenes and to really get my workers up to speed fast, because we hire a lot of seasonal people at Christmas time, packing and shipping boxes, and which is about our biggest time of the year, and during the summer. But our values keep us together, and you'll see them on t-shirts: life, liberty, beaches, and pie. And each one of those are so key, you know. Life stands for the love of Cherries and for the love of Michigan. We do what we do, you know. Beaches is stands for whimsy and staying light, but it's that like a beach is that balance between water and land. It's that balance between trying your best and having fun. And we try to be right there where we don't take ourselves too seriously, and where we don't, you know, we're not just in there to have fun, that we have the social responsibility, but we're doing it in a light and happy way. Life, liberty. Oh, I forgot liberty, missed in there. Liberty is just for our company to go from good to great. It takes each individual employee at Cherry Republic to take his own initiative, and he is fully empowered, or she, to find what needs to get done to take us from good to great. And life, liberty, beaches, and pie. The greatest of all the ones, you have heard me talking already about it. Pie. If you come over to my house, I'm going to pull out some cherry pie and cut a slice and give it to you. I'm not even thinking about it. It's just generous. That's who I am. That's who we are as Michiganders. That's who we are as a people. Generosity is the core of everything. We are generous with our time. We are generous with our money. We are generous with our products. I hope you feel it when you come in our store. We don't have a little one item in a little Dixie cup that we hand to you and then watch you eat it. Those bowls are big and generous. We don't care, you know, and people can come and they can put some in their pocket. Those are our gift to our customers, and it's a pure gift. And one time somebody came in our store with a loaf of bread, 2 college kids types, and they went over to our jams and peanut butter, and they made a whole loaf of sandwiches out of that bread. And my staff went, "Oh my God, you guys, how can we stand these? You know, this is it. We got to pull the samples. This is rock bottom." And I went, "You guys, we have been doing this for 20 years. I think we can let one person in those 20 years come in and do that. You know, and this was like 10 years ago. That guy could be our best corporate customer, you know, today." But that's true generosity, is we just give with no thought of receiving back. And we can give as hard as we can out that front door, knowing in the back door, it's just coming, you know, back to us left and right. But it's also generous, you know, for my staff. to help their coworker every chance they can and be as positive and share their love. You know, there's two ways to look at this, money and energy and wealth and positivity. You know, there's only so much of it in a chest, and we're all fighting over that little bit that's in that chest. You know, there's a lot of people look at the world like that, and I can't, you know, I'm not going to ever talk them out of that. But there's also a belief that, you know, money grows on trees. It's everywhere. There's enough for everybody. It's just how well we give and give and give, and that's who I want to be. All right. That's a much better world to live in, and that's the world we're trying to build here in Northern Michigan. We have one more one, and this will be my last, and that's We Journey. And every one of my staff is on a commit, you know, to a growth, to personal growth, you know. And I know that if they grow personally, our company grows. If our company grows, they're growing. It's equal. And together, hand in hand, we are growing and climbing a mountain together. And we're getting those big open spaces where we can spread our wings and soar. And then we gather our energy and climb a little bit higher. And then we spread our wings and soar, each of us individually and together as a company. And there you have it in a little nutshell, a little gist of who I am and also who our company is. Well, thanks for inviting me. Is this tape too?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Now it's time for questions.
Questions, anyone? Yes.
So how does Turkey not have problems with their chairs?
Well, one of the,
Would you repeat the question?
okay,
so that the people-
yeah, how does Turkey, you know, how are they facing the challenges of, you know, climate and just growing cherries? There is some advantages with climate to growing in the mountains. And Turkey does have lots of mountains and sections. Some of that is dry, you know, it's drier, so they don't have the humidity issues. And there's a little bit more consistency where they can grow at different altitudes too, you know, to protect their, you know, they might lose one crop in one area, but if they're at a higher altitude, they're okay. So, and then there's a lot of support, you know, going on. Like our farmers are really out on their own in America. There's not that much, you know, as much, especially odd crops like that, like corn. They got every government, you know, help, you know, around. But cherries is so small that they just don't get the support like what Turkey is, you know, and their government is doing for them.
Are there scientists working on like?
So Turkey, and they also have a cherry that is a little stronger. So we're considering, you know, trying to change our cherry to a little bit, you know, tougher cherry. And there's a couple out there that, you know, Michigan State, you know, some of those professors are helping us try. And we're looking at using some of those other cherries that are a little more climate protected. They don't have that cherry pie, true sweet sour flavor that makes that Dan's favorite, you know, product. And mine, I love our cherry pie. I mean, the cherries, that Montmorency is really unique, you know. But Turkey does have it. And here's one thing Turkey's doing is like the, you know, Coca-Cola, that was an easy cherry Coke, you know, was sailed to, you know, for the farmers, you know, to sell the Coca-Cola. That was a big use. But Coke now uses Turkish cherries in there that, you know, in their cherry Coke, for example, you know. And that's going on all over the place. Yeah.
I was curious if you do anything to activate your customers to volunteer for or help support the nonprofits you work with. And if so, how do you
So we
What has been
do.
Successful.
We do a very public 31 days of giving where we give away, usually $250,000 to $300,000 at the end of our year, the month of December. And we publicize it pretty well and write about each company and encourage people to join us. And my next decade is not only getting businesses, to kind of try to help do what I'm doing, is to see if I can work with my customers and see if I can get them excited about matching or joining us and, supporting a farm here or there. And that's what this new VP of Climate and Community Impact, I hope that we start, like most of my giving goes to organizations just doing good work, and there are so many good people that we just want to support, but we're going to start doing more ourselves too, more direct giving, like to farms and building our own programs, So, and I'm going to start a nonprofit, a foundation. And so it's really easy for people to donate to that. And I even wanted to start an investment fund to get groups to invest in. And I'm looking for a good economist to help me with that, but.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get our customers to want to go out and volunteer and go to more nonprofit events and things like that. So that's.
Yeah, is that Sheboygan
That's one of
Brewing?
the companies.
Is it? Yeah, all right. Yeah, great.
We're trying.
All right. You know what? You brewers, every one of you has the best heart, man. I work with, most of the guys on the west side because, are you in the Great Lakes Business Network? Yeah,
Just join.
great, terrific. We've got Bell's is real active and who's the guy, Charlevoix? He has plays in Charlevoix and Boyne City. He's really helps. Dave, I think. Can't remember their brewery, but.
Yeah, I live down here, so I'm not like active in the
Yeah.
scene up there.
Okay. Yeah. And you had a question?
Yes, how did you get into Cherries?
Okay. The question is, how did I get into Cherries? And I have been since 7 years old, as I mentioned, doing little businesses, selling to the tourists. And up in my region, Leelanau County alone has over 1 million cherry trees. And so it was only natural that I would find, that product that is right there in my backyard and start, taking that product and making it into items that I could sell to the visitors and my friends and family. So, and it is, it's magical up there. Like we have a family tradition, and just this Saturday, we have this bike ride, through the orchards in northern Leelanau County. And it is just stunning. It was an absolute beautiful day to just see the farmers out there and, on their tractors at the same time working. But at the same time, there weren't as many cherry trees out there, but I did see some new ones planted. Yeah, Dan.
You talked about Yvonne.
Yeah.
And I know that one of his precepts is 1% off the top, not 1%, or some percentage off the top, not out of the profit margin.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge leap for a lot of people in business to make. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it is. It's really like a leap because it's 1%. That's what we give. Yvonne does, we do. He has his 1% for the planet organization that other people join. We are our own, independently doing it, but 1% of all our sales, go this way. Now, Yvonne, and here's what I'll say 100 times. At the beginning of the year, set your prices, and instead of setting them at $1, set them at $1.01. Who cares? One penny more. Everybody's going to pay 1 penny more. All right. And that's it. And you're right at the beginning of the year, it. You're going to put 1% into it. You put it into your book, work it into your expenses. And it's a piece of cake. If you know, after a year or two of trial and error, it just becomes a matter of fact. And I save the money, you know, a lot of times, but we just have, my bookkeeping is good and,
I'd just like to point out that you can also join that as an individual, and so you can commit 1% of your own income to 1% for the planet, so that's an option as well. So if you want to join
oh,
that-
you mean do that as an individual on top, like 1%
Yeah,
of
like
your
I'm an
income?
individual member of the
Yeah.
organization, so I commit,
Oh.
so you can do that too. So if you're down a
Yeah.
company, you can also choose that, hey, 1% of every dollar I make, you can just commit to, like, the Watershed
Yeah.
Council is a 1% for the planet nonprofit partner.
Yeah, right on.
Bob, I got a question. We got a bunch of people online.
Do you? Okay.
And, one of the folks online asked, can visitors to get a tour of the Glen Arbor company campus?
You know, it's, we gave tours and we had our own tour bus and we would start out on the Glen Arbor campus, walk them around a little bit there. I'd give a little talk and, you know, introduce myself, get to know everybody, then send them out to our production facility, which we'd, you know, where we make all our jams and do our bagging and do our baking of the pies and that. And then we go to an orchard, you know, on top of that. And this was a nice tour and, and gosh, what, I ended up giving the bus to a guy that, friend, Kenny Leinbach's son, you know, who was starting this, taking groups of underprivileged kids out into the woods, and he needed something, and that somehow there was something that happened one summer where he wasn't able to get the tours going, so I did. So thanks for that reminder. Look for us online to start doing, you know, some tours at some level. We would, you know, there's a farm that we meet people at, you know, and but we got to do our production, you know, tours. Some of it was, some of my staff, they were a little grumpy one season and they were like, doggone it, having these people watch me watch us work makes us feel like we're, you know, monkeys, you know, in a zoo. And so we backed off a little bit. But our staff is in a much better mood right now. They would allow it. And go ahead.
So I'm just really fascinated by the whole cherry production part. So you said you have 3 days to like
Yeah.
process this cherry?
Yeah. So it is, well, doggone it. I'll try to stay positive at the same time, you know, I'd give you the reality, but yeah, 3 days. All right. And so here's what happens. You shake a tree and it used to be picked, but now they have these big giant umbrellas that, you know, imagine an upside down umbrella that goes underneath the tree. An arm comes off the tractor and shakes the tree really hard, these cherry fruit trees. All the cherries come off, they go into this umbrella, it's dumped into these tanks, 500-gallon tanks of cold water, as cold as you can come out of the ground. And they're kept there. And you have 3 days once they're in those tanks to get them to a facility that will pit them and freeze them. Okay. And I buy them, and up in the orchards, there's football field size freezers, you know, in the orchards. And that's where I buy them from the farmers and, you know, that are pitted. You know, and the pit is a pain in the butt because a pit is 30% of the weight of that cherry. So this farmer does all this work and all of a sudden he has to pit that and he loses 30% of his value right there, you know, and some of the juice on top of it. So it's pitted and quickly frozen. And the challenge of this too is, you know, with the heat, the season is narrowing. Okay. You know, where you got to harvest in a shorter amount of time. And the other thing is, there are no workers left up in northern Michigan. All the second homeowners buying all the homes, and we got nobody living up there to do the work. Okay, and the farmers are really struggling finding workers. I mean, that was half of my conversation with, you know, Glenn LaCrosse, one of the biggest farmers, is he just can't find workers, you know. He's going down to Texas and getting families to come up, you know, and stay. And he has to bring a whole family, and maybe he gets 2 workers out of, you know, 4 or 6, you know? So, yeah, so it takes a huge amount of people to do the harvesting and get it out, you know? You know, we're up for Cherry Republic, how we've overcome the workers is I have beds during the summer for 70 seasonal workers that come in, you know, and they're J1s, 13 international kids. We work with a culinary school in Holland, and that brings about 10 kids up, and then I have a bunch of college kids that I find homes, you know, have beds and homes for too.
Shorts just had to buy a hotel to be able to house their staff.
Yeah, yep. I've been eyeballing one and waiting for it to come. But in the meantime, I got 3 homes, and I work with a local private school and take one of their dorms that I've donated to get it fixed up, you know, so we use 16 beds there, and yeah. There's I know Shorts, they're protecting their interest, and I'm sure they're gonna fill that up, no problem. You got any more online?
Can you ask them if they have any questions on that?
Yeah, anybody have any questions? If you do, you could put it in the chat, and that'll get to me.
I have two for you, Bob. The first, I promised my friend I would ask you this question. Why did you stop selling the chocolate cherries with the chili in it? Did you have a chocolate covered cherry that had chili powder in it?
Yes, we did. And you know, through the pandemic and through, you know, some of the worker shortages that we've had and some of those challenges, we've had to narrow down our product line. And it's probably it's probably the hardest thing on me is narrowing I want to just produce new products all day, and we have a list. I love the creative process. The thing I love most about my company is the creative. And if you come up, you'll see it. It's all the funny signs and all the new, you know, ness of it, and creating all those products, you know. And but I've driven, you know, some of my production people nuts. So we've had to simplify and get to our core for a period. And now we're hoping to, you know, expand back.
I just read an article by Ari Weinstein of Zingerman, who said the same thing. He said to survive the pandemic, they just have to carry the product line way down.
Yeah, you just had to get to your core and, you know, and manage that.
And on a happier note, are you expanding your Ann Arbor store?
We are expanding our Ann Arbor store. We are very fortunate. It's been our smallest store, and it's been, you know, the store that we are the least able to express who we are. And so I'm really excited about having that extra space to really show who Cherry Republic is, you know, from you know, yeah, so you'll see a much more whimsy and much more art and products, you know, like hopefully we can start shipping our pies down and maybe have an oven and doing that part. And yeah, so. And then our wine, you know, is a really important part of this, and our sodas, where you can come up and even sample our sodas, because we have this chance to really connect with our customers while you're, you know, standing and serving wine, and then we'll put our samples, some other stuff out with it. And, you know, so we'll be able to just spend more time with our customers too. We're really excited about that. Even though our landlord says that's the most expensive spot in the whole Midwest. And that's why we gotta pay that.
Was there something available next door?
Yeah, the beauty salon,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
which they have chosen to, you know, retire or, you know, simplify their lives, you know.
What percentage of the business is the mail order? Is that the biggest?
What percentage is mail order? And, you know, through the it's probably 35 to 40% is our mail order and internet. And I thought at one time that when it came about that it would just go and start crushing, but everything starts in the store, you know, and it really, people have to, you know, this cherry is a subtle fruit. When I say orange, everybody can imagine what orange is or banana in their head, but a cherry, you really need to sample it and to understand and know that flavor before you know you really trust buying it. So yeah, we need that space to help sample it.
Got a couple questions online. Have your farmers had problems with with pollinators and bees? We're seeing a decline in pollinators for various reasons.
Yeah, the Montmorency is it the pie cherry that we all eat, which I hope get everybody to just call it the Michigan cherry. You know, Idaho is taking Idaho potatoes, Florida oranges, California almonds, Michigan cherries. All right, and they do not need pollination, but our sweets do. And no farmer truly trusts that our Montmorencies don't need pollination, so they always put some out there. This year we've had it was really warm, so it was a short, but luckily it wasn't windy, so it's been a good year for pollination. You know, we had some dry and no wind, and the bees got out. But I was riding through the orchards, and those farmers, not only, you know, usually they put them in a big, you know, clump, like one big, huge, you know, pallet of beehives in one spot. But I saw them being scattered all over the orchard. They wanted to make sure there was coverage this year. This is a super important crop. We've had 2 weak crops. We need to fill our freezers.
Next question online was, we've tasted dozens of yummy cherry products at the Traverse City store. I was wondering how many total products you have.
We were up to, and we will be beyond this in 2 years, because we're really going to get back to probably about 230 different products, you know. And that's, you know, somewhat different sizing, but yeah.
How many different kinds of cherries are there? I mean, I'm not a cherry, I love cherries, but
Yeah.
but I mean, are there certain kinds that you use for like the chocolate covered ones and certain ones you use for?
So we predominantly use, and about 99% of our products, 95, is the Montmorency red tart cherry. And that is a terrific, beautiful ruby red morsel of joy. All right. And it's unique because it has this Japanese uname, which is like mouth rounding, which means too, that it is super, you know, diverse, you know, your ability to cook with it. It can go sweet, it can go sour, it can go savory, it can go spicy, you know, it blends with oats to tomatoes to chocolate to, you know, and most fruits can't do that. All right. So we're really lucky to have this unique fruit that's so ruby red, beautiful. It's a joy maker on top of it. There's something that happens, you know, like I had this little line just put on our new ice cream shipping container that we're going to have on our Glen Arbor property. For that customer out there that's just asked about the Glen Arbor, that we're gonna have this new ice cream spot. And I have a bunch of funny sayings on this ice cream shipping container that, you know, it's an old shipping container that was made really nice. And one of them is like, kids, stop licking the shipping container. And another one was that, hey, I was just thinking that have you ever seen someone eating cherries that didn't have a smile on their face? You know.
Last question that I have currently is, I've heard of your 31 days of giving. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so it's probably our, you know, one of the times that my employees are as excited about it as me. It's when we kind of pick, and I do most of the vetting And it's pretty informal of who we give and how we give our 300, $250 to $300,000 away at the end of the year. And we do it, over 31 days. We announce each day, who the winner is. There's some surprises in there. There's a lot of regulars in there. We try to have a climate bend to it. So we'd like to give to organizations that are, net zero themselves, on top of what they're doing. So we're kind of vetting those organizations that are net zero as well. And, but it's just as informal as people writing letters and emails to me. And I put them all in a folder, save them, and, give. And this year it'll be more organized because after doing this for 25 years, I'm getting a little tired. But now I have a new vice president of climate and community impact that's going to do most of that. Yeah. Dan?
So when I was a kid, soda pop came in refillable bottles. And you brought the bottle back to the store. This is before the Michigan bottle. And you got
Yeah.
2 cents. And the bottles looked like old battle-scarred warriors,
Yeah.
They've been down the line a lot of times. And you're the only person I know anymore that still does that. And can you talk about your bottle?
Yeah. I wish I could say we still do that because our attempt when we worked, we had a recyclable, a reusable bottle. Very different from recyclable, so much more energy efficient. You know how much heat it takes? You got to get temperatures up to 2,000 degrees. You know how much energy it takes to melt and make glass. But the idea of just washing it and reusing it. So it's a long-term, it's a goal of ours is how do we get back to reuse? Not only in our, on those bottles, which we were doing at one time, but in our glass jars as well. And the issues are, the cleanliness of, getting, these all the way back through us into the factory, washed and reused. And the sanitation part, because there's some USDA issues that I have to overcome. And then and then finding the right, like there was an extra strong bottle, that we were using. And we were so into it at one time that instead of giving people a 10% refund, we gave them a 25% refund. So we could truly get that, extra incentive to get that bottle back. And for people that had to go longer to get it all the way back to us, unfortunately, and I can't remember what the obstacle was that happened that we couldn't, keep it up. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that too. There are 2 things I'm bringing back. It's funny, I had some questions for you guys too. And I'm going to take a moment and I'm going to ask you the questions. Okay. Cherry Republic wants to grow. All right. So you guys now are a focus group for me. All right. And we have 2 limitations that we've kind of set on ourselves that have kind of made us, in some ways who we are, but we might need to break away from these. All right. And the 2 are, our stores are only in Michigan. Okay. That's one limiter. And the other one is that we are devoted to the cherry, 100% to the cherry, which is another limiter and a little bit of a risk too for us with climate the way it is. So my question to you is, which of those 2 seem most important and most your brand, and which to keep, and which would you suggest is where, if you were on a, for the sake of growth, you would suggest we let go of?
I would say the world will never call the Michigan cherry if it's only sold in Michigan. Gotta spread the gospel.
Yeah. Yeah. So let go of the border and do that.
But it's
Yeah.
sold all over by the online and mail order. then?
Yeah. Like I'll ship it all over.
Yeah.
And, my reason with some of that, because we represent the tourism industry, and we know it's like when you go travel to be, you want Michigan to feel a little different than, another place. But it'd be so easy to stick a store in Georgetown or DuPont Circle in Washington DC and sell, a bazillion cherries and,
As long as
Yeah.
it doesn't hurt the product and you don't run out of the quality cherry you need to make your product, I think doesn't stretch the brand too much in my view.
yeah, I won't.
What if you don't have enough cherries? What do you do?
Well, you see, I mean, we grow 150 million pounds and we only use 2 million pounds. So I feel obligated that I do have a sense that I need to sell more cherries for our farmers.
Oh, yeah.
And, even to give them that hope.
2 comments from your question online. One, agreed to spread the gospel to other states.
Yeah.
And other had a follow-up idea that you should sell your snacks on planes.
So you
Oh,
snacks on
On
planes?
airplanes.
On airplanes? We finally have a packaging machine that could do the little bags. That's a good idea. Thanks, good idea. I never have any ideas myself. I just go around to get ideas. Yeah. Yeah, anybody else have any thoughts on that, that piece? Yeah.
I think that was consensus.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Spread the word, say Michigan, don't do DuPont Circle, but say Michigan.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, so building off of that, tourism is always the second and third largest industry in Michigan. And your area of the state benefits from tourism.
yeah,
So going to other places and selling the concept of coming here is also a double win or a multiple win, right?
yeah, you're right. I can have these satellites and I can say, oh, and you got to go to our flagship,
And then you have to
And-
decide, does your nonprofit support, does it stay in those areas or does it come back to Michigan? There'll be some side questions you'll have to figure out.
Yeah,
Maybe save some of the products that are only in Michigan. So.
right on. Right. And that's why we try to do even more sampling up north is to give people that extra. Yeah. We're gonna start looking at Washington DC, somewhere with the blossom time and,
Set up a
That's
stand
nice.
right outside the Turkish embassy.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it certainly couldn't hurt to also just to dabble in another, I don't think you could pick 7 more fruits, but you probably pick 1 or 2 and figure out, hey, is there compelling products that we can make that stay true to
Yeah.
who we are and still, still life, liberty, pie and beaches.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah, and there's some companies that are like Harrods of London, and some of these that I kind of look at and see how diverse, and they have their own product lines. And then they also have some of those classic English like Walker crackers and stuff like that. And they just really focus on their packaging and how they bring things together and present. And so, we could do, other, Northern Michigan products, package them in our own brand, but also just, use some of those classic brands and help them.
Don't sell them in super cheap spots. I mean, just keep it upscale.
Upscale, yeah. Well, Harrods. That's right. Oh my gosh, do they upscale?
Two other responses to that question for you. One was, you should open a storefront in Birmingham, Michigan. And to which I asked the person whether that was of personal interest, but they replied that they thought it would be a good market
Yeah.
for you. And then another person said, you can combine cherries with other Michigan products to make additional product lines.
Yeah,
That would really highlight Michigan, such as blueberries, maple syrup, white beans.
right on, right. Good points. Yeah, that, like our future, I think we're gonna get more into like hard salamis and meats and cheeses and things like that, and we'll start working more and more, Zingerman's right in town does a great job of partnering, with different and trying to take that piece, similar partnerships.
We had another question. I didn't hear your answer. When is the harvest?
When is the harvest? The harvest this year will start about July 10th for the, yeah, maybe a little earlier, like, yeah, probably July 10th for sweet cherries. You know, it's all based on the amount of sun and temperature we get. And it was really late, but it's caught up with this heat and sun in the last week or two. So, but it looks like it's going to be an average year, which the tarts really start about the day the cherry festival finishes is when the sweets come in, you know, or somewhere at the end. But, you know, half the time those sweets are from that you get at cherry festival are from Washington or downstate because, you know, Cherry Festival wants to be at the busiest time in the summer, you know, when the most tourists are up, and it's usually just a little early for a crop. But July 10th will probably be when the sweets start coming in, and we'll start harvesting the tarts about July 20th. That's up in northern Michigan. Down here in Benton Harbor and St. Joe, they'll start right about July 1st. And that's, you know, the big farmers are using that expensive equipment, those big umbrellas and all that stuff. They run it all the way down here, and they have their farms down the state, and they, you know, as they come ripen, they just keep going further north and north and north, and that spreads it out. What's that?
So are the sweet cherries or just the ones you eat like raw?
Yes.
And then the tart cherries are for everything else?
Yeah, for cooking and all that. And they really are pretty good raw, but they're so darn fragile. You got to freeze them, you know. So you go north in some of the grocery stores, I don't know if they have them here, but you can find tart cherries in a frozen bag. Look for Friskies, they'll have them in a frozen bag. And my boy just loves just eating them right out of the bag, just like, you know, it's
Do you
good.
have more focus group questions for us?
You know, I did have something about like, challenges, how important is it? I did, how can we use our money? You know, it is, it's our donation piece, you know, it's like, we give away $1 million, and it is super difficult to give away to climate action. Because no one is really knowing how to do this, you know. We're spending a whole bunch of time politicking, you know, our government leaders to put climate goals out there, you know, which is somewhat, I like that you guys are jumping ahead and just doing a millage, you know. But, you know, I just have struggled with this $1 million pledge that, you know, I'm mostly through, but I'm ready for the next like goals. How can I spend money, you know, in a proactive way to help the climate, you know? And anybody has ideas on, you know, places to leverage our giving, you know, I'm always curious for that.
And I think your concept earlier of helping farmers do solar and things is helpful because, you know, farmers are generally center or right voters. And, you know, if you look at like DTE's current rate case, pretty much makes solar impossible if they get that approved. And so I think if we can get more people who are center or right having solar panels and being financially tied into whether a rate case like that gets passed, I think that can have impact on, you know, very positive impact on whether those types of rate cases ever see the light of day.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that's what I do. I feel like these grants and investments, I want to start PPAs where I might even own, you know, the solar, you know, for a school, and then slowly let the school buy it back from me. And then I get the tax benefit, which the school can't, you know, and then, you know, I could go and help get it's kind of waste of time for all these schools to raise a little bit, $20,000 to put a teeny little solar thing up. It's, you know, we got to make big moves.
I feel like to impact the environment, we need to not preach to each other. We need to figure out how to make that tent a little bit bigger in the middle.
Yeah,
Do you give any money to, or grants to research, for researching, like, I think we have to, I don't know, that's me personally, like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to curb the climate as fast as maybe.
So, like,
we can
battery
come up with
research?
New kinds of cherries.
Yeah.
and New kinds of plants and new kinds of ways to,
mhm,
Resilient.
yeah.
yeah. I'll look at that. That's another good idea. Put it into research. More business. Yeah, thank you. I wish, okay, you know what's funny is, my assistant had put some bags together to bring to everybody that attended. And of course, I have issues of ADD, you know, so she was sick today and usually she's like grabbing me or making sure it gets in my car. And she texted me and said, hey, pick these up at the store and make sure you bring them down. And I forgot. But then I went to my store in Glen Arbor and I went at the store here in Ann Arbor and grabbed some product for you. And, but I left it in my car. So you guys have to follow me out and I'll give you guys some chocolate covered cherries with 70%, you know, dark chocolate. They're pretty, one of my favorites. It's a really nice quality chocolate.
All right, so let's.
And you guys, if you would have came, maybe.
So, I want to say something. I was thinking about this the other day. What do all these people have in common that come in and speak to us at these meetings? And because they come from so many different backgrounds and they talk about so many different things. But I think almost all of them share one trait. And that is that they are visionaries. And I remember from my youth, this always stuck with me. Bobby Kennedy said, some people see things that are and say, why? I see things that never were and say, why not? You know, among many other things, Bob Sutherland saw cherry salsa and said, why not? And the rest is history. And it's just been so much fun to have you and to listen to you. It was a very inspiring talk. And folks, please come back next month and hear Laura Tremor Spears, another visitor from up north, talk about microplastics. Same time, same station. And a week from tonight at Argus Farm Stop, letter writing to low inclination voters. And thank you so much for coming tonight.
Do you have,
Thanks,
like, a
guys.
letter
Thanks for listening.
to, like, do at home? Can we do that at home, like a letter to copy? That we have to do it.
So we use this organization called Vote Forward, and they're just voteforward.org. And my record, so we use their letters. And